Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Lunch Roast Podcast, episode number 144. I am Brendan. Bellator 282, Mousasi versus Eblen. I did not see this coming. We're gonna go over this. We're gonna go over Higo versus Sabatello, Magomedov versus Barzola, and Brennan Ward versus Cassius Kane. We're gonna cover all those from the main card from Bellator 282. It took place on Friday. Before that, if you like Bellator, if you like the UFC, if you like the PFL, I cover all of them. I cover most, if not all, the events. I do at least 2 or 3 videos every single week, so subscribe to the channel. That way you'll see when they come out. And if you like the video, go ahead and hit click like for me. Blah, 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 blah. Click like for me, please. I'd appreciate it. Cool. All right, let's talk about this fight and talk about what happened here. So I don't, first of all, comment on Bellator. Are you trying to keep this shit a secret? I said this in my last video. Are you trying to keep your shit a secret? Really? Like, why are you making it so difficult to watch your shit? Like, I sign up for a Showtime so I can watch your stuff. Okay? If I can't watch the event live, let me watch it the next day. Because usually that's what they do, but they play it in its entirety. So you have to watch, the entire thing. You can't fast forward. It's like watching live television again. So they do that. This time they didn't even do it. I couldn't even watch this shit. Like, what are you doing? I don't understand. Are you trying to make your organization unknowable and unseeable by anybody who gives a shit about MMA? Because that's what it seems like. It seems like Bellator has taken the opposite approach of every other organization. They're like, let's hide all of our information. Let's not put any of it out there. Let's not share any pictures. We're going to keep it all for ourselves, and we're going to hide it. We're going to put it in the closet, and the only people who are allowed to see it are media people. Why? Who's winning from this? Is Bellator making money off of this? Is Showtime making money from this by making it so you can't watch your shit whenever that person wants to? UFC seems to be doing just fine. The PFL seems to be doing just fine. And they're on ESPN+. What is your deal? Bellator is so stupid. And it sucks because there's some fights I really want to watch. Even though Bellator is my least favorite of the 3 currently, there's some fights like this one that I wanted to watch. Anyway, Johnny Eblen ends up defeating Gegard Mousasi in a 10 rounds. 5-round fight, of which all of them were 10-9 in favor of Eblen. Real quick, this fight confirmed for me about Gegard Mousasi what I pretty much, I was 90% sure of, because he left the UFC at a time where he was, still good, and he beat Chris Weidman, and he could have gone on to, could he have gotten the title in the UFC? Probably not. The only way he's getting the middleweight title in the UFC is very specific matchups that allow him to fight his game and his game only, right? He does excel in a lot of things, but he isn't the best at anything, and he's terrible at taking on specialists. Specialists who are good, not just someone who can only do submissions and then sucks at MMA. Eblen is a very good wrestler, and you could tell Mousasi was more hesitant when it came to certain exchanges. He's had his problems with very good strikers. He's had his problems with really good submission artists. He's had his problems with really good fighters, and I think Mousasi is probably, if he was in the UFC, would he be a top 10 fighter? Probably. Would he be a top 5? Maybe, depending on, the time, the matchups, and those things. And I just don't think he would have ever been champion. This confirms it for me. Right, Eblen is a good fighter, and there's nothing wrong with him, and I think he could contend in the UFC as well, based off what I saw. I don't think he's winning. I don't think he's winning a belt in the UFC either, and that's kind of what confirms it for me. Is his wrestling and his ability to just neutralize Mousasi pretty much however he wanted. It just confirms for me that Mousasi just was never going to be that guy, and that should tell you something about Bellator's middleweight division. All right. Eblen dropped Mousasi with a right hand and then got the takedown, took the back for a few minutes in that first round, And then Eblen just walked through him that whole first round. Just did whatever he wanted to him. Really set the pace and kind of dictated how the rest of that fight was going to go. That first round. I do recommend watching this though to kind of get a feel for who Eblen is and how good he is. They're probably going to end up rematching. Let's see, maybe Mousasi was injured or maybe he had a bit off night and he comes back and he can compete a little bit more with Eblen. So we'll see. The second round, easy 10-9 round for Eblen in the first. Both guys were landing on the feet to start the second round, but then Eblen got a takedown, and then he dominated on the back for a while, and then they engaged. It's really hard to break these down round by round because I'm just going to be repeating the same thing over and over again. Although round 3 was contested more on the feet, and then Eblen still outlanded him and outdamaged him, so that was really good. Round 4, more of the same with the takedown and the back riding. Same thing in the 5th round. Dude, Eblen just neutralized Gegard. He just would not let him do anything. Gegard Mousasi looked like he didn't belong in there, right? This looked like what Mousasi does to everybody else because he's a step above everyone. Well, this is what happens when he's not. That's the thing is like, is Johnny Eblen that good? Maybe. It's hard for me to get context because Bellator's divisions are so thin. They've got really good talent up at the top, like case in point, Mousasi, great fighter. Like I said, could be a top 10, top 5 fighter in the UFC. So they have great talent. It's just their divisions are so paper thin that, the lead up to the champion doesn't really tell me much about who the fighter is, even if he's dominating the fights. And then the championship fight like this could be telling me something, or it could just be Mousasi had a bad night. Maybe he's over the hill. Maybe Mousasi's never that good. It could be 1,000 things. Most likely, though, Eblen's just better than Mousasi, and a horrible matchup for him. You get a guy in there who's athletic and it can stop a takedown. I think he could beat Eblen. See, that's the thing is, stylistically, Eblen is an easy matchup for a lot of guys in the UFC, but maybe not in Bellator, because wrestling in MMA in general is the go-to. But in Bellator, it doesn't seem to hold the same cachet that it does in the UFC, and I think that's maybe because the best talent tend to gravitate towards the UFC. So, fun fight, great fight. It was fun to watch and everything. There was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't super boring. I don't hate Mousasi. I don't think Eblen's a bum or anything like that. It's hard for me to get that excited for something like this when all I end up with is more questions. And I can't answer them because I have no context. Right? So much of Bellator is just unknown quantities taking on each other, and then you kind of get a feel for who they are, and then if you see them take on a known quantity, you can kind of gauge where they're really at. And then the thing is, the MMA math doesn't work, so just because Eblen lost to Mousasi, Eblen beat Mousasi, doesn't mean Mousasi would lose to anybody else like that Eblen beat in a close fashion, right? That's not how MMA math works. Just because Eblen had a close fight with someone else, does that mean they're as good as Mousasi? Absolutely not. This matchup, styles make fights. It's hard to tell, and it makes it even more difficult, like I said, when you're dealing with unknown quantities as you do in Bellator. But like I said, overall fun fight, fun to watch, all good stuff. All right, let's go to another dominating performance, and we're going to talk about wrestling. Danny Sabatello, just dominating Leandro Higo, doing whatever he wanted to him. Danny was staying on the outside, throwing leg kicks, doing decent work with leg kicks, and they did add up. He got his first takedown, and he took the back around 245 in that first round and controlled Higo the rest of that round. Easy 10-9 for him. Second round, he went for a flying knee into a takedown, which was, I thought, a pretty interesting, cool entry there. And this weird sequence where he just got overly aggressive allowed Higo to take the back. And then I actually gave Higo that second round. But then the next 3 rounds were all Sabatello, just doing exactly what he did in that first round. Working his way to a takedown, doing the Dagestani back ride, along the fence, keeping control of the legs, tying up the legs, getting the back every so often. And Higo, there were some moments where he was like smiling and laughing about how he was holding on to Sabatello's gloves and not allowing him to do anything, basically like stalling and being like, ha ha ha, you can't do anything. It's like, I get what you're doing, and if you were competitive anywhere else or any other way, I'd totally be on board, but you weren't. You sucked. Like, you looked like shit compared to Sabatello. And Sabatello's wrestling is no joke. I don't know if he's going to beat Stotts, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see him take on Stotts, to see if he can keep him down, because that's what he's going to have to do. Otherwise, he's going to get steamrolled. A lucky punch is a lucky punch. He could land one and do whatever, but yeah, most likely it's either it goes down to the ground or he gets starched. All right. More wrestling. Magomedov versus Enrique Barzola. Now, if you were to look at these guys, so Magomed ended up getting the submission win in the third round. If I'm not mistaken here. Yes. Yeah, he got the guillotine win in the third round. Jumping a flying guillotine, actually, and took it down to the ground and sunk it in really deep. But if you were to look at these two, just by their names, who do you think was doing most of the wrestling in this fight? Magomedov. And he did wrestle quite a bit, and that's how he ended up, no, that's not how he got the win. I'll explain that in a second. But Barzola, coming from AKA, which makes sense. Known for their wrestlers, American Kickboxing Academy, known for their wrestling. I know it's a overused joke at this point, but that's just the way it is. Obviously, that's where Kane was from, Kane Velasquez. That's where Daniel Cormier is from, and that's also where Nurmagomedov spent a lot of time, as well as Luke Rockhold. Those were the big four at one point. So Magomedov was getting taken down in the first round, but he was also landing some good shots on his own. I thought that Magomedov actually did more damage in that first round to Barzola, so I gave him that first round. And in the second round, Barzola was the pressure. He just kept pressure the whole time, and I thought he did enough damage of his own, as well as getting the takedowns and some control to win that second round. So I had it even. This was a really close fight, but both rounds were very close. And then in the third round, Barzola was moving forward again. They were having close interactions. Magomedov started to land a little bit more of his own. He did land some good shots at the end of the second round as well. But in this third round, Magomedov started to land a little bit more, and you could tell he was flowing a little bit better. And Barzola was feeling the takedown again, went for a takedown, and Magomedov jumped on a guillotine, cinched it up real tight, and got the finish. So good for him, good win. Fun fight. And, by the way, all of these are for the Grand Prix, or those were all for Grand Prix fights. Mousasi, obviously, being the champion, it was the end of the Grand Prix. So, all right, first fight on the main card. Brennan Ward taking on Cassius Kane. It was weird to see this fight. It looked like Kane didn't belong in there, getting caught multiple times. Ward caught him with a couple hard right hands and then had a standing guillotine attempt, and Kane just didn't look like he belonged in there. He was taking a ton of damage. Ward rocked him a few times and then got on top of him and did some Donkey Kongs, just to Donkey Konging him. Didn't get the TKO finish because there wasn't enough time. He went for an arm bar, but there wasn't enough time and didn't get the finish. And then the second round pretty much started exactly the same way. He rocked Kane pretty bad with a right hand, moved in, and then hurt him to the body. And then I think Goddard just saw enough of it that Kane wasn't throwing anything back. And even though there wasn't a barrage or a ton of cumulative damage happening at any given time, I think Mark Goddard just saw enough. So he put an end to that fight. Brennan Ward still has it. He's former title challenger in Bellator. He's still a good fighter. It's good. I don't know if he can ever challenge for the title again. I mean, he's not doing anything revolutionary. I don't think he necessarily has that first step that he used to have, or maybe he ever had. And he looks like he was a step ahead of Kane, but this fight wasn't, again, like I said at the top of this, Bellator is horrible for trying to gauge talent because they have such a shallow talent pool that, you can't really gauge based off of their rise and who they're facing on the way to the top. So it's hard to get anything from that. That is it. We are not going to cover anything else. I'm not going to go over the prelims for Bellator because Bellator made me mad and I refuse. So I appreciate because and that is the one thing you get to watch for easy, not just for free, but easily is it's available. Their prelims are always available on YouTube and easy to watch and all that other stuff. But then they fucking hide the main card, in the Narnia closet, and you got to go digging through to find it. And even then you can't sometimes. So it's just a pain in the ass. It's just makes me very upset. Anyway, if you liked my incoherent ramblings and my takes on Bellator, I'm sure you'll love my UFC stuff. No, I do at least one or two videos. Usually, actually, I do at least 2 videos of every UFC card. I do Bellator and PFL. So if you're interested in all those things, subscribe to the channel because you're going to get notified for all those things that come up. And I appreciate y'all spending some time here. If you like the video, click the like button. I appreciate y'all. If this is the only one you're going to watch this week or the last one you're watching this week, I hope you have an amazing week. If not, and you're interested in some more stuff, the next couple of videos I'll post about the UFC this weekend, and then go back and check out the PFL video I did. So I appreciate y'all for stopping by. It means a lot to me, and I love y'all. Have an amazing week.